What if I told you that if you used one management style perfectly, you still wouldn't get the results that you actually want 75% of the time? After hiring hundreds of people and managing teams of 50 plus, I can tell you that most coaching and management fails not because of the employee is actually capable or not, but because the manager doesn't have all the right tools for the situation. The main problem is that you're trying to coach people to a version that you wish that they would be, or that the company wants them to be, but not the version that they currently are. So today I'm going to teach you the real process of managing a team into alignment, motivation, and how to help them become the best version of themselves. So I'm simply sharing what I've done and what my clients are doing right now to hit 100, 200, or even 400K per month in profit. And here's the disclaimer, like most agencies never make it past 50K a month in revenue, let alone the numbers I'm talking about here today. These are just real lessons from real people actually doing the numbers, shared so that you don't waste years learning it the hard way. And if that's you, welcome, let's get into it. So here's the thing, this is why coaching fails. And most people think coaching is, let me give you advice, let me motivate you, let me tell you what to fix. And that's not coaching, that's more like instructing. Coaching is about alignment. Coaching is about connecting the dots between the business, the role, and the actual human being sitting in front of you and leading them. And so this brings us to our first model. All right, so fundamentally, there's three things that we need to take into consideration when we're actually coaching an employee, right? And that is what the role and company actually requires from that person, where the employee is today, and what the employee ultimately wants. And what we're trying to actually do here is we're trying to hit the dead center of this, right? Like of this little triangle that these three circles have. If you're thinking like the overlap's too small, you're exactly right. We got to bring these things together, and that's our job as managers. And I'm going to tell you right now that the hardest thing of all of this is that you're going to have to induce self-reflection on the individual that you're actually managing, because without that, it's actually going to be really hard to do this. Why? This circle is kind of the immovable object. What the role and company requires isn't really movable. So let's start with what the role and the company actually requires. It actually requires like a few things. It's like, well, the role is going to have very specific objectives. They're going to have very specific metrics, like numbers that they need to hit, and key performance indicators that will predict those metrics. It's also how they work and interact with other people on the team, right? So this is a list. And on top of that, you have things like your mission, vision, values, and like the way that we do things around here. So there's a whole bunch of things that the company and the role require, right? Like at the company organization level, it's the behavior. On the outcome side, it's the objectives, metrics, and KPIs that this person needs to hit, and working well with others in general, right? Which should be baked into your culture. The other side is, where are they today? And I think that most managers are failing because they're trying to manage this ideal version of the human sitting in front of them. And that's not how this works, okay? Like we have to meet people where they are and then see if we can get them to where they want to be and where the company needs them to be simultaneously. Okay, so like this is about what are their soft skills like? What are their technical skills like? Do they understand how to time manage properly? Do they understand how to actually prioritize? Do they know how to work well with others? Do they understand how their contributions impact the bottom line of the company? These are all things that we need to take into consideration so that we can understand where the person is at, like not only in their day-to-day tasks, but mentally as well. Like how are they approaching things? What are the things that they need to learn? Part of being a good manager is helping this person, not only in the context of getting the company results, but getting them results as an individual, which is what the employee actually wants. Like, what role do they want in 5 years? Like, what's their ultimate goal in life? Like, how can this role help them get there? And I think that this is something that most people are like, oh, who cares? Like, they're here for a paycheck. It's like, if you think that they're here for a paycheck, they will be here for a paycheck. If you're trying to get them to where they want to go, this is where things change, right? So we need to figure out where they want to go and how we can help them get to that place. So this is how we have to manage others. Internal drive is just a really fancy way of saying motivation. So like, how motivated are they? Do they have low motivation or do they have high motivation? On the skills level, they're either low on skills or high on skills and everything in between. So remember, like these things are more so on a spectrum. They're not black and white things. They're not like 0 or 1. This is like, you know, from 1 to 10, where are they at? In an ideal world, we're going to be able to delegate to people. Why? Because when people are being delegated to, that means that you tell them what to do. They already know what to do in order to complete that thing, but they also have the motivation to do it. Meaning like, hey, could you do this task? And people are like, yeah, no problem, because they know how to do it. they're motivated enough to do it, right? It doesn't have to be like, they don't have to be jumping for joy of excitement, but they know how to do it and they're willing to do it. The second best place to be is actually support. So what we're gonna do is like, we're gonna harness their motivation and we're gonna show them how to do this so that they can get better and better and better. And now they're once again gonna be in the delegation quadrant. The third best place to be is in the coach quadrant, where they have the skills to do it, but they just don't have the motivation. So they're fully capable, right? They're just missing like this motivation. So what do we have to do as managers? Well, we need to actually tell the person why this thing matters, right? Why is it important to success, not only of the organization, but for their role and for them personally. To create the structural motivation, how does this thing tie in with their greater role and the success of not only their role, but the company's success? This is what can enable people to get into this delegation quadrant once again, because this is where we want to get them to. We want to be able to delegate as much as possible. Okay, and I'm going to walk through the last one. This is the fourth one, micromanage. So like, they don't have the skills to do with the thing that they're supposed to be doing, and they also like just don't, they're not motivated and they don't have the skills. They don't have either. What you need to do when you're in micromanagement is that you first need to motivate them in the structural manner, then you support them and get them back into delegation. This is where I tell you that these things take a lot of time. So supporting, coaching, and micromanaging take a long time. We need the majority of our people to be in this delegate quadrant. And this is where results for agencies really break down. Because what happens is when you have too many people in these other three quadrants, too much of the time, the amount of time that we as managers have to take in order to like enable the work to happen is incredible. As a general rule, 90% of the tasks that your employees are doing that are reporting into you have to be inside of delegate. If not, they're gonna grab you and like suck you down, because see, this is what happens. Imagine if you have 5 people reporting to you and 80% of the tasks are in delegate, the other 20 are somewhere else. You're gonna have to give support to 20% of the tasks in these other 3 areas. And this is gonna kill your entire day. This is all you're gonna spend your time doing. You're probably gonna end up doing a whole bunch of work for your employees that belongs to them and doesn't actually belong to you as the manager. The other thing I'm gonna say is that there's very specific ways that we need to approach this and certain tools that we can use to get people from support into delegate, micromanage into delegate, and coach into delegate, because ultimately they have to be there. So what are the tools that we use for this? There are very clear tools. The baseline is we need SOPs plus video as the baseline. So every single task inside of what an employee should do should have an SOP, standard operating procedure, plus a video on how to complete it with examples of what good looks like inside of the video. This is the baseline method. You need this for absolutely everything. For micromanagement, you can use 10-80-10, and this is the, like, there's like 10 other names for the 10-80-10. This is just the most popular, this shooting of 2026. But basically, you do the first 10% as the manager, they do the next 80%, you do the last 10%. So you basically get them started, you show them how it's done, what the outline should look like, and then you get them to fill in the blank, and then you do the last 10%, hopefully together, so they can learn kind of like, okay, like this is how I filled in the middle, and they're learning kind of by watching you do the beginning and the end, and then you helping them massage the middle part that they did. The next one is definition of done. So like, this is the coaching methodology, because remember, when you're trying to coach people, it's not that they don't know what to do, they know what to do. Definition of done is, when is this gonna be due, right? In what format? So is this like a rough draft, final draft? Does it need to be presented? What, like, does it need to be in front of a client? We're basically giving them a definition of done of like, when should it be done by, what format it should take, and what should it be able to do. What you're basically doing is introducing a stimulus of this needs to be done in a certain way, thereby motivating the person to do it. And this hopefully comes along with the structural part of motivating people, which is like, this is why it matters, whatever, so that hopefully we can get them back into delegation in the future after you've definition of done them on the coach side. Finally, for those people that have the motivation but are missing the skills, 1-3-1. So 1-3-1 is basically, you're getting clear on what the problem is, right? And there's like, again, 10 different names for this thing. You're getting clear on the problem with them. That's step 1. Step 2 is that they have to go away and come up with 3 different solutions and then present them to you and pick one solution that is their recommendation. And then you have to basically audit this. So, hey, why did you suggest these 3? What are the pros and cons? What are the factors that went into your decision making? And by doing that, you can basically take them to a place where they are learning as they are doing it, right? In a very safe environment, because ultimately you're going to sign off on the one recommendation and or help them tweak it as they go and do it. Look, really, this is about bringing all the models together, right? So let's combine them into one coaching system. First, it's like diagnose the task, identify where the employee sits, what their skill level is, and where you think they're gonna drop into that matrix, right? Second, you gotta understand the person. So use that 3-circle overlap. Like, what does the role need? Where are they currently at? What do they personally want? Then we're gonna go around matching the coaching style, the style that we're gonna use, and the tools that we're gonna use to the micromanage, support, coach, and delegate. And step 4 is really about aligning them to what they want and what the business needs together. And this is the secret that most managers actually skip. This is when alignment becomes really clear, they're really motivated, they're not chasing, performance actually stabilizes, delegation becomes really clean because we're getting more and more people into that delegation quadrant, and the growth compounds. And so I would say that then the final step is really to like reassess constantly. People have to shift between these quadrants because as they learn and they get more motivated on certain things, they'll lose motivation on others. So you got to keep checking in with people, right? Because coaching isn't about, just being a great communicator, it's about being a great diagnoser. And so by using these 3 things, you can create a team that is way more self-driven and is ahead of the game. And this is how you create a high-performing team that are built on alignment one day at a time. And if any of this helped you rethink how you coach and manage, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment telling me what quadrant of your team is using the most right now and where it currently sits. And remember, there is a delegation guide below in the description. Go check it out. It'll help you. It'll go way deeper into this stuff.